And I also understand that to you, your joy is in worms. Am I right there with
Oh,
worms? Look at that reaction of worms.
my worms are right
Tell us about
outside.
this. Are
Oh
are
my
they?
God.
I read
They
that. I was like,
are.
okay, I got it. I got to
Oh
pry
my
into this.
God.
And
Oh
it's
my
amazing.
God.
You gave like a long answer to this section too. And I was like, okay, yes, let's go into it. Worms.
It's so funny that you bring this up at this part of the conversation because it actually brings together literally everything we've talked about.
Good.
So, um, I have become a very passionate composter over the past year,
Hmm.
and essentially, it's like we eat so much plant food in our house, and we end up having so much of this food, quote unquote, we call it food waste, right? Which is a total
Yeah.
misnomer. But you put it in a bin with these composting worms, and each worm is eating that quote unquote waste and transforming it into nutrient rich soil that we can put in the garden and to grow more food. And so it's this microcosm of
Hmm.
everything we're talking about in this conversation, of transformation, of the alchemy of sort of molecular flow, of the idea that like that death of that plant actually is transformed as something that creates new life. It gets me outside in the morning to basically put that food waste into the worms. I get to see the incredible life of thousands and thousands of worms who are, I know when they're happy and when they're doing well and they're not, because they respond to what they're getting. And it's just, one worm can basically convert its body length and weight per day of food into essentially worm poop, which is the compost, which is basically the most rich soil you could possibly
Yeah.
have. And to engage with that physically every day, that miraculous alchemy of transformation, and to get out of the ridiculous Western waste cycle that we have of
Hmm.
like consumerism and then discarding and then landfills, like it's totally unsustainable, right? And like, of
Absolutely.
course, yes, we still buy things on Amazon and I still do produce trash and I hate that and I'm working to reduce it. But to get a little bit out of that cycle, which is essentially the exact same cycle we have for the body as these little productive capitalistic workers. We're born, we work, we consume, we're discarded. When we're old, we're no longer useful and we're put in the homes, and then we die and we're put in a box in the ground, totally separate. Literally, a coffin is like a landfill, right? You're not actually having this discarded human is not able to incorporate back into the cosmic flow of matter and energy. And that's what we're doing to food and trash and all that stuff. So, it also gets back to, I think in the book, I talk about my mom, when she passed away from cancer, she was very intent on having a natural burial,
Mm.
which is extremely rare in the United States. There are only a handful of natural burial sites. And you got to start thinking about this a little bit because it's kind of wacky to think like, wait a minute, we have 8 billion people on the planet and we're starting to create this whole what I call the funeral industrial complex, which is
Mm.
basically like telling people that you have to pay all this money to be put in a box where you will never decompose and incorporate back into nature.
Yeah.
Almost, I mean, every other, think about all of human history, there have been so many traditions that you just put the body back in the ground and it
That's it.
incorporates back into the soil, and it's part of that cycle and that beautiful transformation process. And we've just bought into this idea that like, no, 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 that's gross or something. And so what was fascinating about my mom's desire for a natural burial, which of course, given the way I think about things, like was very much what I wanted as well, is that I can't describe how healing it has been for my family to know that my mom, that molecular composition of my mother is back integrated into the cosmos. It's just
Mm.
like it's hard to explain how that would help the healing journey,
Yeah.
but I just have to say that it does, because there's a naturalness to it and a fearlessness to it of like purposefulness. Her body served a purpose of helping bring new life to the world, just like her spiritual energy while she was alive brought life to the world and me and my brother and in helping so many other people. And so it's this blocking of natural cycles and flow again, that is something we don't recognize, that is so foundationally a part of why we are sick right now. Everything is not flowing in the way it's supposed to be in that circle of life, from the way we manage our trash, which gets into the worms, the way we manage our bodies at death, which gets into the sort of funeral industry, which gets into insulin resistance, which is fundamentally the block of flow of energy into our cells to be converted into human energy. So I think a big part of healing is going to be finding ways to let things re-enter cycles, natural cycles, and to flow. We need glucose to flow into our cells and turn into ATP. We need the body to be able to transform in a healthy way. And I think the little ways that we can help things flow in our own lives is to like speak authentically, speak our truth, stop repressing everything you want to say because you're afraid of the repercussions. I just think everyone is self-censoring. So one, speak freely, dance, move, walk, sing, scream. If you can't speak freely, write it freely in your journal. We gotta get back into flow. And to me, the worms basically help me see that on a very visceral way every single day.
I am so happy I asked about worms. I was like, should I leave that one to like not be on this? And I think that was wonderful. I thought that is a poetic way to kind of sum up the book and everything we talked about. It is about flow. It is about authenticity, not being fearful of death, allowing life to happen and being one with nature.